Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Eternal Empire, representing the team, goes to a clan tag. It's the Protoss player, Naroc. And in the top right-hand corner from the Platinum Heroes clan tag, it's the Zerg player. It's NOObius. Let's see what these players have in store for us. I personally do enjoy when we get a matchup involving Zerg. As a Zerg player, I feel like I am better. I am a better caster when I know what I am talking about, or at least know better what I am talking about. Naroc going to be walling off on the low ground and then sending that probe. That probe has a job, and the probe's job is going to be super important in this game. Because NOObius has gone with an aggressive early opener. He will not be opening up hatch first. He's got gas on the way. He's got a lot of aggressive stuff on the way. This isn't 12 pool levels of aggressive, but it's potentially scary nonetheless. He will get blocked as he goes to get his very, very late expansion. Gonna go ahead and block him with a pylon there. Nice catch there by Naroc, punishing the failure to expand early. He's gonna take a look. He's gonna confirm the timing of the spawning pool. And while that is earlier than you want to see, that is not as early as it could be. Mac at home, instead of throwing down his Nexus, he's gonna throw down his core. He's gonna complete his wall. He's gonna sneak out a Zealot. He's doing all the right things to defend early Zerg aggression. Meanwhile, NOObius has been forced to settle for his third base location, for his second base. Not the end of the world. Naroc with the presence of mind to cancel this pylon, so it won't be a waste of money. I think that's definitely worth it. Two Zerglings head down from the main. They are taking a look around, looking to find this pylon, but the pylon is chilling here at the front. Back at home, he's chrono boosting out an Adept. He still hasn't started, so this might be a bit of an overreaction. I don't think it's too bad, but I think it's a bit of an overreaction to delay the Nexus by that much, because it wasn't a 12 pool. But he might just be thinking pool before hatch, scary, and reacting the same way that he would have to a 12 pool. Scouting probe will fall. Naroc's going to be a bit blind for a while. Is it a second spawning? Oh, Roachhorn. I clicked on the wrong thing, and that did get scouted, by the way. That pylon was able to go through and scout the Roachhorn as long as he clicked on it, but a Roachhorn is what you expect it to be. So the early Roach pressure is, it's usually a few Ravagers and a lot of Lings. Let's see if that's what we're going to be looking at here. Four Lings headed across the map, looking to get a bit of information about what's going on over there. Zergling speed finishing up. A few Ravagers are on the table along with a lot of Lings. This is going to be the Ravager Ling pressure. These Lings on the map trying to take care of this Adept before this Adept can properly diagnose what is coming, and they're able to do that. A few Zerglings on the map, not that scary. A few Ravagers on the map, very scary. Corrosive Biles will be able to, you bile on this location, and they either have to evacuate their wall and you flood them with Zerglings, or they leave it there and their wall gets blown right open. It's pretty much a win-win. This is a super hard build to deal with as the Protoss player. A lot of good Protoss builds are just hard countered by this build. But Naroc has prepared. He's gotten more units than he would normally have. He has an Immortal about to pop. Let's see if his wall is able to hold long enough for the Immortal. Ravagers are not using those very valuable vials. That cooldown ability, you do want to use it as early as possible. A couple biles will fall. The first bile lands on the Immortal, but the second bile lands on Zerglings. Biling your own Zerglings is not the path to victory. Shield batteries are keeping this Immortal unscathed. More Zerglings arriving, but their path forward is blocked by friendly Ravagers. The Ravagers are clumsy at best. Biles getting better of damage this time. 4 workers have fallen, which isn't nothing. All of the damage is gone. All of the energy is gone from those shield batteries, rather, so they won't be able to prevent any more damage. But as the second Immortal pops, this feels very thoroughly held by Naroc, well done. The Immortal able to be propped up by these shield batteries and withstand a lot of damage. Feeling aggressive with these two Immortals, getting out on the map. This is a bit of a window where these Zerglings, if those Zerglings can get a surround on those Immortals, Zerglings are actually the counter to Immortals, but not feeling that aggressive. He's going to fall back to his shield batteries, Naroc, and regroup and be content with the hold that he has managed for himself so far. NOObius setting up towards the south side, still cranking out more units. There is no sign. He's got that third base coming up at his natural, but this is hard to transition off of with the very minimal damage that he was able to secure. 30 workers for Naroc to 17 workers of NOObius. Make no mistake, this should be Naroc's game. It's not necessarily, but there's no world where NOObius should win this game. One Ravager will step forward to begin the Bile harass. This is the type of harass. There's two schools of thought on this. So it would have been nice, right? If he caught the Adept, it would have been nice. And if you have enough Biles to one-shot the unit in the wall, that's totally worth it. But Biles can get great value over time biling the buildings, because the buildings can't dodge. So eventually you're going to break through this. Regardless, the ship has pretty much sailed on that kind of approach to this game. And I think NOObius knows it. He is headed back home. He has got a layer about to finish up. Let's see if he tries to sneak out some drones, maybe saturate some more mineral lines. What's the plan going to be, NOObius? 7 drones on the production tab. It is going to be an attempt to transition. As the warp prism finishes and grants high ground vision, these tickle monsters will be able to chase this Peeping Tom out of their domain. Peeping Tom does survive with its life and will continue to provide supply for NOObius for the time being, but he should start thinking about replacing him. Nothing on the production tab. Really struggling to afford stuff right now is NOObius. He is really struggling on the economical front, but he has closed the worker gap. No plans for a third base seeming to be in the cards for Naroc. And he is cranking out Resonating Glaives, so he does want to get across the map and pressure. Glaives is going to do great against the Zerglings that his opponent has. Spire firing up here for NOObius. Spire is the kind of Hail Mary play that if it goes unscouted and he is given the time he needs to get it up and running, it could get him back in this game. Hallucinated Phoenix will come to take a look around, and what he sees is pretty much what I think he expected to see, which is a Zerg that is attempting to transition. This army will get spotted on its way across the map by this Overlord. Will NOObius be able to get into a position to deal with it? Right now, the answer looks like no. Army is finally pulling back into position, but this is such a Zergling-heavy army. These Zerglings are going to struggle. They're going to struggle so hard against these Glaives Adepts. Zerglings getting a nice surround. Glaives Adepts doing their best to chop through them, and they will make quick work of those Zerglings. The Guardian Shields seem like insult to injury at this point, as Naroc is moving in on the third base, mowing it down with these triple Immortal pressure. Some Stalkers have been warped in on the back door. This is an unkillable army here from Naroc. NOObius was not given the time he needed to make the Spire play viable, but let's see what the Mutas are able to do. As the Mutas pop, these Stalkers are going to become the MVPs while the Mutas outnumber the Stalkers. Mutas in general are just very fragile units. They need to be in much greater numbers than the Stalker. They're intended to be agile. They're not intended to be the last line of defense in a head-up fight against something that can fight back. Natural hatchery falls for NOObius. The workers are called off their working line to fight. More Zerglings and more workers joining the fray. A nice force field on the line will slow the fall, but it really doesn't matter. GG's called. Naroc is going up 1-0 in this series. Spawning in the top left-hand corner, up 1-0 in this series, looking to make it a clean sweep from Team Gosue. It's Naroc. And the bottom right-hand corner, the cheeky Zerg player with the Ravagers of Gold. Down 0-1 in this series, trying to make it 1-1 and force a deciding map. It's NOObius. Overlord pops, drones on the way, wall on the low ground. All of the usual suspects are here, about what you would expect. Probe headed across the map, looking to see. This time NOObius is going to go with the hatch first opener. Not looking to go pool first, not looking to spook his opponent like he did last time around. I think part of why Naroc was so thoroughly prepared for that Ravager pressure was NOObius did enough weird stuff early to spook him, but not enough to put him on his heels. If you do a 13-12 type opener into those Ravagers, then NOObius is scrambling or he loses the game. If you just do a 17 pool, a pool first opener, while that's concerning, it's just concerning enough to really put him on his on alert. And I think that played a big fact in him being so prepared for NOObius's Ravager Zergling all in. As the natural finishes up, let's look into what kind of third base timing NOObius is looking to get into. I'd expect to see a third base on the map before the 3-minute mark. But I also wouldn't expect to see 6 Zerglings. 6 Zerglings is a lot to make off of right when your pool finishes. 6 Zerglings would indicate aggression to me. Two queens on the way. NOObius expanding that gas income, definitely planning to get aggressive. I'm more confident with each passing second. The 3-minute mark approaches, and there is a drone looking to get a third base. If you're Naroc, you're relieved to see your opponent taking a regular time third base, because that probably means they don't have any shenanigans planned. NOObius down on workers. Adding drones onto the production tab now, a bit indecisive with what he's trying to do with this game. Stargate finishing up for Naroc, that will not be scouted by NOObius. Zerglings are able to arrive and save this drone from falling to the Adept. Drone finally able to get the third base up, a little victory for sure. But on the other side of the map, an Oracle is in production and it is unscouted, and there is nothing here to deal with it. There's a queen. There's not even a queen at the Nat. The queen is out chasing an Adept. Oof. There is no Overlord that anytime soon is making a run to try and scout this. A few Zerglings are coming out to the middle of the map. If they're lucky, they might see the Oracle on its way out. And they are going to get... They might have gotten lucky. It was close. Oracle headed towards the south side of the map. No Spore Crawlers up and running, so regardless of whether or not those Zerglings were able to spot, they were not able to properly communicate that info back to command, because nothing is being done about the Oracle threat that is looming just to the south of the main base. In towards the main base floats that Oracle, maybe? Baneling Nest being added on by NOObius, but a Baneling Nest is not going to help with this Oracle. Oracle is able to spot the Spire, able to take out 4 drones, 3 drones. Not the best of Oracle Micro. Oracle on its way out is going to go over the Queen from the Nat, not going to survive with its life. Oracle had a lot of potential there, not really living up to the potential at Hope. Zerglings continuing to be a nuisance on Naroc's side of the map. They are making it difficult for him to take a third, but I look at the supply, I see the same story as last game. Naroc's floating money. Naroc's not spending his money super well, but he's got the worker lead against a Zerg. He's getting into a third base before the Zerg has a fourth base. I like it. I think Naroc's in a good position to seal this 2-0, but let's see what happens here. The gas income's been scaled up prematurely by NOObius. He really doesn't have the tech to put that gas into. When the Spire finishes up, let's see that. Has anything been invested to deal with the Spire? No. And the Spire was scouted. Despite the Spire being scouted from NOObius, it was scouted very clearly by the Oracle that floated right over it. Maybe he didn't click on it and he thought it was a Spore Crawler. Now it's scouted. Phoenixes will be a good tool to deal with the Mutalisks that I expect to see on that production tab any moment now. Baneling speed has been fired up. A Hydrogen is being thrown down. NOObius very indecisive with his tech this game. Worker count only 36, 6 minutes into the game. NOObius is getting into some dangerous territory here. Where it will take just full-on neglect from his opponent to allow him a path back into this game. Adding on an infestation pit, he has all the tech options in the world, but he does not have the drone count to take advantage. 47 drones is not going to be enough. Roach Worm being added on as well. All of the tech choices will be available to this man, but he will not have the production, he will not have the income to fully take advantage. Scaling up his gas income even more, but his gas far outweighing his minerals right now. However, on the other side of the map, Naroc is investing very heavily in these Phoenixes, and while Phoenixes would have been great if NOObius had committed to the Mutas, he didn't. He didn't commute to the Mutas. The Phoenixes are finding some value out on the map, hunting down Overlords, as we just saw. They find another one. Hunting down Overlords is definitely a valuable use of their time. They're finding a lot of Overlords. This was necessary, because when you invest this heavily into Phoenixes, they will require micro when the big fight happens. And you just have to hope that you are capable of microing the Phoenixes, but if they get this kind of value, they paid for themselves. Oracle moving out across the center of the map will get spotted by a very heavily damaged Overlord on its way to salvation. It's on an A-click, but it doesn't have its laser turned on. Phoenix is continuing to find damage in these Overlords. Very supply blocked as NOObius, down on supply on a pretty nasty supply block. Fourth base has been started up, which I like. 4 Hydras are not going to be enough to deal with these Phoenix. They'll just get picked up. Not looking for that kind of micro in his life right now. He had an opportunity to pick off those 4 Hydras, but I don't blame him for not taking it. Still not a fully saturated third mineral line. Typically, as a Zerg, you don't start taking more than 1 gas until you have 3 saturated mineral lines. And yeah, he doesn't even have that, so gonna find it very difficult. He's getting roach speed, he's getting Hydra upgrades, he's getting so much. He has a lurker den. It's just gonna be so hard to afford it all. Phoenix is doing what I expected to do them earlier, picking off some free units that are not in great enough number on the middle of the map. Creep spread's starting to get moving a little bit. Needs to be improved, but that drone count is really the concerning point right now. With all of these tech options, it's very weird. You look down here at the minerals and gas. Gas is usually not the gatekeeping mineral at this point in the game. Gateway account has been significantly expanded by Naroc. He's also investing in extended thermal lance, and based on the Hydra tech, I don't think he really has a ton of evidence other than those 4 Hydras that he killed out on the map that Hydras are going to be the tech. But with Hydra Roach on the way, Colossus is going to be an absolutely fantastic choice. On the macro side of things, 143 supply to 119. Naroc is growing that macro lead. Upgrades are in favor of Neuro as well. So he's got the +1/+1. +1/+1 is on the way, both the melee and the... It's +1/0 for both melee and ranged on the way for NOObius. But down on upgrades, not the right army count. It's going to be real tough to hold this. The Colossus haven't been added to the force just yet, so I would probably wait if I was Naroc. He does have a few stalkers going down here towards the south side location, possibly looking to throw his opponent off balance. But he has moved down here looking ready for this fight. Moving forward, this is the fight. This is the opportunity if you're NOObius before this army gets flushed out. But oh my gosh, she's just so heavily outnumbered. Lurkers arriving on the scene. Lurkers are probably going to be able to hold this off for now. 3 lurkers get scooped up into the sky, but there is an observer as part of this army, and this extended thermal lance Colossus, along with the supporting cast, should be able to chew through these lurkers with time. It won't be the most efficient trade. Moving into sieged units like lurkers never is. Immortal's getting a little bit removed from the rest of the army. I hate to see that. Unsieging for just a moment, it's going to be enough for these Phoenix to jump on top of one of these lurkers. Colossus doing its best to mow through roaches, but it is really better equipped to deal with hydras than roaches, and roaches are what is on the production tab. 14 drones have fallen along with this base. This has not been for nothing. This has been a good push from NOObius, but he's not going to have the follow-through he needs to go for the kill just yet. Those lurkers doing fantastic damage along with the reinforcements and defender's advantage, adding on roaches instead of hydras that would have been lasered up immediately by the Colossus. He's invested in the roaches instead. The tool to killing those roaches is going to be immortals, and all of the immortals lost their life to lurkers in that fight. A warp prism is getting added on to reinforce from the front lines. I like that. Gas bank is huge for NOObius. NOObius is going to be able to make a lot of lurkers. NOObius getting a bit gatekept by his lack of mineral income. You say, well, yeah, he lost this base, of course, but he hasn't saturated this mineral line. 5 more drones on this mineral line would make a difference in terms of trying to stay maxed and trade blow for blow with your opponent at this stage of the game. Lurkers moving forward first, looking to find a good pivot, a good siege position to start this battle, and they'll find a pretty decent one. In range of the army, in range of the base, but here we go. Detection is there. Lurkers are going to be dealt with quick as these Archons and these Zealots jump in on the army. Phoenix will pick up a lurker out of the ground, preventing it from doing any more damage. It's no longer a threat. Adding on some more Zealots with the warp on this fight is looking decisive for Naroc, supplying his advantage so heavily. 170 for Naroc, only 113 for NOObius. Naroc is in position to take this series 2-0, head on to the semifinals, to the money round of Diamond Heroes 5. Some nice baneling explosions from NOObius there, and while the idea was right, it's not going to be enough. Desperately cranking out hydras, and now as we see, these Colossus trade out so well against hydras. One Colossus gets a bit distracted attacking the Evo chamber, but it doesn't even matter at this point. There's enough forces on the ground. We have Templar here. The Templar have Storms locked up and ready to go too, but Storms aren't even going to be necessary. The Colossus are providing plenty of splash damage moving forward. 8 Templar auto-attacking away with their more buff counterparts, watching the fall of the Zerg Empire in this series. Another run by, hitting down by the third base. As this worker count starts to thin out, you got to think that NOObius is going to start thinking about tapping out here. He's got 16 mutas about to pop, and while 16 mutas seem like the answer, these Archons are absolutely going to shred them with the supporting help of these Phoenix. Downfalls another base. GG is called. 2-0 in the series. Naroc's headed to the semifinals.